Hello everybody, I've shown you in the video about creating this parametric coffee table using a spreadsheet, using all these values here which I can change and the design adapts accordingly. In this video I'm going to show you how to make the path for the CNC, and the path should update automatically also for any type of coffee table that I have. For this I'm going to take each of the unique elements, which is one leg, one end of a rail, because it doesn't matter if it's a long rail or a short rail, the ends are the same. You can use that for any length of rail, the tabletop of course. So let's get started by first creating the job for a leg. It consists of just 4 holes. Let's select the front left leg, go to the path workbench or CAM in FreeCAD 0.22, and with the body of the leg selected, click on this button, create a new job. If you have a template, use it. I'm using a 6mm hardwood template. I will actually have to change the drill bit, add the 4mm end mill. I will click OK, and now I will hide everything and show the model for the leg front left. My view is positioned just as I was facing the CNC, and I want to be able to drill these 2 holes in the end of the piece no matter what settings I have in the spreadsheet. First of all, I will go to the model, click on edit, click on placement, check the apply incremental changes, and I will rotate it around the y-axis with -90. Now you can see that I have these 2 holes facing up as they should for milling on the CNC. I will close this, go to the job again. On the setup tab, the model's bounding box is away from the model. The origin is wrongly placed, so I will click on the refresh button. You can see the bounding box is now exactly over the leg, and I will select this corner and click on set origin. Now I have the origin here. I will place the leg in the 0, 0 position, and it will always be in that position. Well, actually it won't. Why? Let me just show you. I will close the job, go to the spreadsheet, and let's change the height of the table. Let's make it 500mm, change the section length to 80mm and the section width to 90mm. You can see the leg updated accordingly, but if I go to the job, the stock is in the old position. So going this approach won't work. What I like to do is select create box, click on set origin. Now I click OK, I go back to the spreadsheet, modify it, go to the job. The origin is not correctly placed because the leg is longer. Let me just close this job, go to the spreadsheet again, make it 380mm back. And now if I open the job, you can see the origin is still far away from the actual leg, which means I will have to manually adjust the origin for this operation all the time. Well, the solution for that is going to the stock, and you can see here I have the dimensions for my stock. So I will have to go here and update these values, enter a formula. For the height I have spreadsheet leg section length. For the width I will enter spreadsheet leg section width, and for the length spreadsheet leg height. And now you can see the stock updated automatically. But if I go to the job again, the body is in the wrong position. That is because of the placement of the model. You can see it remained with an X equal to the initial leg height, the one of 450mm long leg. So I will have to change this value. Click on the formula editor again and write spreadsheet leg height. This way, no matter how I change the height of the table, let's give it a 600 value, you can see in the job that leg is always placed correctly. For Y and Z they are 0, 0 because I rotated it in such a way that the actual origin of the leg is placed correctly, so it will grow this way and upwards. Let's give them some weird values, 100 and section width 120. You can see they grew on the positive of the Y and of the Z. The X value updated also for the stock and for the position of the model. This way I have these 2 holes always in the correct position. So I'll click OK. Let's just make the operation. I will make a helix with a 4mm end mill. The direction, it's clockwise. I'll go to the depth tab. The final depth is 59 in start at 70. You can see they are based on formulas. I'll click apply. Here are the paths for my 2 holes. So now let's close the helix and let's make some tests because I want this to update automatically. So let's go to the spreadsheet. First of all, let's change the table height, change it to 500 again. Go to the operation. You can see the helix is correctly placed. Now let's change the leg section. Let's make it 90 for both length and width and go back. It moved higher on the y-axis, so the holes are still in the middle of the table's leg. Now let's try to change the values that define these 2 holes. First of all, I'll change the diameter, which is bolt screw diameter and bolt screw depth. Let's give it a 8 millimeters diameter. The radius of the helix updated. Let's change its depth. Let's give it a 20 millimeters depth. Go back to the 3D view. You can see the path updated. So everything in this operation is parametrical. There's still one thing that I want to change to make sure everything is okay. It's the rail height, because the placement of these two holes on the x-axis is based on the rail height. So I'll go back to the spreadsheet. Rail section height, it's 70. I will give it a value of 90. The hole's position changed. As you remember from the first video, the leg section length and width are two different values. I can change them. Let's give it a 70 for the length and 90 for the width. You can see now that the leg isn't square anymore, and the location of these two holes won't be the same with the location of these two holes. So I will have to make two files, one for this face and one for this face. I'll have to take care when actually drilling the legs. For one of them I will have to rotate it clockwise after drilling the first holes, for the other one counterclockwise, and repeat this for left and right, so I will have all the legs drilled correctly. Let's rename this job. Select it and press F2 and leave the name job here. It's easier to identify it. Leg part 1. Now I have to create a job for this part of the leg. I will just hide the helix and the model of this job. Go back to the leg front left, select it, create a new job, use the template, click on OK, go to the tools, add the 4 millimeters end mill, put my view in correct position, just like facing the CNC. If you want more details about positioning and rotating and placing all the pieces for the CNC, you can go and check out the episode dedicated to this subject. For now I will just select the model, click on edit, placement, apply incremental changes, rotate it -90 around y-axis, click on apply, and now I have to rotate it 90 degrees around the x-axis. I'll click on apply, click on OK, go to the job, double click it, go to the setup tab. You can see everything is messed up. Select create box, click on refresh, click on this corner and click set origin. Here I have some values which will be equal to the ones in the spreadsheet, but I cannot edit the formula from here, so I will close this dialog, go to the model, go to the X value, click on the formula editor, spreadsheet leg height, and you can see there's also a value on the Y axis now because I rotated it, and if it will grow, it will grow this way, so I will have to change this to its spreadsheet leg section length. You can always do this trick, look at the value, look in the spreadsheet and see what matches if you're not sure which direction you're having to move this. The model updates, I'll have to do the same for the stock. When double clicking the job, you can see the origin correctly placed in this corner. I will go to the spreadsheet, change some values here, 90, 70 and 400, just to make sure everything updates correctly. Double click on the jobs. I still have the origin in this corner. The stock is correctly based on the body, so everything is okay. And now I create a new operation, a helix. Select the job 001. I should have renamed it, but I forgot. I will rename it later. You can see the base geometry is correctly selected from these two, which are vertical. It won't select these two holes because the CNC can't reach them. Make sure the depth is correct, the heights are correct, the operation outside clockwise. I will just click OK. I now have the helix, and I will repeat the process to modify all the values to make sure everything stays where it should. Let's move on to the next part, the holes for the rails. I have to make 3 placements, one with this face facing up, one with the end facing up, and one with this face facing up, because the holes are on 3 directions. Let's select the shorter rail. I will select it and create a new job based on this. I will use the template 6 millimeters hardwood. The holes are bigger than 6 millimeters, so using that drill bit is okay. Rename it job rail left part 1. If the rail is longer than the machine, you won't be able to mill that. That's why I like to just mill the ends. Double click on the job to make the setup. You can see here the origin and here is the body. What I need to do is to rotate it first and then to correctly place the origin. I will select the model, keep my view in the correct position just as facing the CNC from the front. Click on edit, placement. I will have to rotate it first around the Z axis. I will click apply incremental changes. It's a 90-degree rotation, and now I will have to rotate it around the X axis. I will click on apply, rotate around the X axis 90 degrees again. You can see it went very far away. If I just lose view of this piece, I can always use the use center of mass, which will rotate it around its center of mass. It's somewhere in the center. Of course these holes affect it, but not too much. I'll click apply again. Now click OK, go to the job, double click it, go to the test setup tab and click on the refresh for the model's bounding box, then go to the corner, select it and click on set origin. I will have to drill these two holes. Make a helix operation. You can see it doesn't actually do anything. Let's go to the base geometry and see why it hasn't any base geometry. I will select the bottoms of these two holes holding the control key, click on add, and an explanation for why it didn't automatically update the base geometry is because when it does that it takes the side face, but here the side face is interrupted by this hole, so FreeCAD won't be able to detect automatically the holes. I will have to add them manually. Now I'm going to the operation tab and I will choose start from inside because you see there are several passes here and I don't want to be left with a weird thing in the middle. It will just pop and sometimes hit the tool bit, resulting in some dangerous situations. I have to make some adjustments for the stock and for the model. If I go to the model, go to the placement, you can see already here that anything that is not 0 depends on the size of the model. Identify what defines that value and use a formula for that. So here is spreadsheet rail height. That is what defines this 70 value. You can now see it in blue and here it's the formula written. I have to go to the stock and as you can see I have here 0, 0, 0, so it means the placement doesn't depend on any of the sizes, so it will just grow correctly and nothing bad will happen. Go to the spreadsheet, change the rail section height, give it a 90. You can see it got wider and the path updated automatically. Let's change the diameter of the holes. This is the cam diameter. I will give it a 20 value. You can see it is wider and also the holes got closer together because as you remember the distance from the center of the hole to the edge of the piece depends on the cam diameter. Now I will change the cam depth. I will give it a 15 instead of 11.5. They are now deeper, the helix updates. And I can also change the X of these holes by changing the bolt depth. Give it a 50 value. They are much farther away. I will revert to 34, which is the value for the bolts that I'm using. Everything is back to normal. I've told you that I need to make files for the left and for the right end of the rail, but I actually don't have to do that because I can simply rotate it. The holes are equally placed to these two edges, so they are always in the same position. It doesn't matter if I rotate it, so I can reuse the file. The same will apply for any holes because they are all centered in the workpiece. If they weren't centered, I would have had to use separate files. So let's go to the second job for the rail, the part 2, the one that will drill the holes in the end. I will hold it upright at the end of the CNC table. Let's select the short rail, create a new job and rename the job rail left part 2. Show the model and the stock. I have to go to the model, click on it, go to edit placement, rotate it one time along the X minus 90. The configuration of my CNC table requires that these two holes are placed along the X axis, so I will have to also make another rotation around the Z 90. Go to the job, go to the setup and I will change extend model bound box to create box, and this time I won't be setting the origin in the lower left corner because it would mean to have some weird values for the CNC. I will just set it here. I will reset the 0 of the CNC when placing the rail there, and I will make sure they're always at the same height. So I will click on set origin and it will go to -y. Now close the job. And again, just as we did for the leg, go to the model, go to the placement and check which value depends on the dimensions of the rail. As you can see, all of them depend. They're not 0, so they depend on the dimensions of the rail. X is 70, which is the rail height. I will just write spreadsheet rail height. The Y is -40. Enter a formula, spreadsheet rail width multiplied by -1. Because it's -40, and I have a 300 millimeters here. Spreadsheet short rail length multiplied by -1. Also do the same for the stock. The Y is -40. I will just click on the formula, spreadsheet rail width multiplied by -1. The Z also spreadsheet short rail length multiplied by -1. And now no matter what changes I make here, the placement and the origin of my job should stay the same. Let's just test it. Make a rail section section length of 80, a width of 30, and since the short rail length is calculated based on the table width, let's go to the table width and give it a 600 millimeters length. And now go back to the design, and you can see that we still forgot to change something. We forgot to change the dimensions of the stock. So to do that, we go to the height, press on the spreadsheet, short rail length, press equal, spreadsheet rail height, and of course spreadsheet rail width. Now the stock matches our piece. If I double click on the job, you can see the origin is correctly placed no matter what dimensions I choose. Let's just change the width back to 500. Go back to the job, you can see it updated, and I have to make the operation. Just select the job, click on the helix, click on apply. You can see the holes will be drilled using a helix operation. This operation is ready. I can just export it. I can then rotate the piece. The holes will be in the exact same position, so I don't need to create the right part number 2. And now we still have to create the final operation, which will be actually 2 operations because the rail is pretty high and I don't have such a long tool bit. I will be drilling this hole, one drill from the top and one from the bottom. Let me just hide this and this, also the operation. I press space, I don't press disable. This way, if I export the job, those are still active and I can export them and they will produce movement on the CNC. Now let's change the view to match as we were facing the CNC from the front. I will select the rail, click on new job button, now rename it, show the model, show the stock, select the model and go to placement. Apply incremental changes is easier than modifying all of them at once, but you can also modify it without applying incremental changes. If you cannot find these values here, make sure you don't have the rotation axis with angle but the Euler angles. I find it easier this way because it relies a lot more to the geometry that I've learned in school. So let's just rotate it around the z-axis with 90 degrees. I can click apply, click OK, and of course go to the model and the stock to modify the dimensions that depend on the size of the short rail. You can see the boxes here because I forgot in the job details to go to the setup tab and change extend models bounding box to create box. Click on OK. Now I can go to the model, go to placement, go to position, but now I can see here some pretty odd values. They don't match any of the values in my spreadsheet. Why does it happen? Well, I forgot to do something. I go to the job, go to the setup tab, click on this corner, click on set origin. You can see the origin updated. Now if I click OK and go to the model, you can see that the placement is with 0 for all the values, which means any modification to this body will result in a growth towards the right, towards the back and towards the top, so it won't affect the position of the origin. So the model will always be in this corner, which is a good thing. Now I'll have to modify the stock. For this I have to change these 3 values. Height is spreadsheet rail height, the length is going to be spreadsheet short rail length, and the width is going to be spreadsheet rail width. You can see them now in blue with the formulas next to the actual values. I will make a pocket. I have to go to the base geometry, hold the control key and select all these faces and click on add, click on apply. You can see now I have my operation, but I don't like this type of pocket. Change the pattern to offset. I will close the operation now, go to the operations tab, go to the pocket shape. The first thing that I want to do is scroll down and go to the keep tool down value, change it to true so it doesn't raise the cutter head all the way up here for each layer. I want something like a helix, so select the pocket shape, go to path, dress up, ramp entry, and then select the ramp entry in the tree, go to method, change it to helix. Now you can see I have a helix with the shape of my hole here. Double click on the pocket operation again, go to depth, and I want the final depth to be half of this, so I will enter the formula, and instead of up final depth, spreadsheet rail height divided by 2. Click on apply. You can see now it stops here. So now I have the part 3 of the operation. Now select the short rail again, create a new job, go to the model, click on edit, placement, so I can mill the larger part of the hole and what was left from the first operation for this hole. I will click on OK, go to the job, go to the setup tab, change extend models bounding box to create box, click on the bottom left corner. If I cannot select it, I can rotate the body and it's much easier to select it this way. Click on set origin, make sure it matches the way I'm going to position it on the CNC. Click on OK to close the job, and now let's modify the model placement, the position. You can see now I have some values here. The X should be spreadsheet short rail length, the Z spreadsheet rail height. This way they will update if I change the dimensions. Do the same for the stock. Press on equal to enter the formula editor. Spreadsheet rail height, spreadsheet short rail length, and spreadsheet rail width. Now we have to drill this hole, which will consist of two holes, because I first have to drill the larger hole and then what remained of the narrower hole that we didn't drill in the previous operation. Let's go to the job selected, click on a pocket, go to base geometry, select the walls of the hole, click on add, change the pattern to offset, change the step over to 50 if I want to, click on apply. I will repeat the process to make the path for the second part of the hole, and as I've shown you in the rail left part 3, I will change everything to make a helix. And we still have to make the little piece that remained earlier, so I'll go from this side, select the faces. Sometimes the selection isn't so visible, but I know it's there because I can look in the Python console. Create another pocket. First of all, the pattern, let's set it to offset. Go to depth, select this face and click on the button next to start depth. It will start from here because we already milled this part of the hole. For the final depth, we'll click on the formula for the expression and we'll write spreadsheet rail height divided by 2. This way we can limit the movement only for the part that we need, because we already milled the bottom part of this hole. The operation for the rail is ready. We need to mill these holes on the back of the top. Create a new job, select the template or enter the settings in this view. If you don't have a template, you can watch the video about the templates. They are very useful. Go to the job. First of all, rename it, open the details, go to the model, press space after selecting the model, the top and the stock. And now we have to rotate it because you can see the holes are facing downwards. I will select the model, click on edit, placement, and rotate it around the x-axis with 180 degrees. Click on apply, OK. Now the holes are correctly placed, but the stock is still somewhere random. I will double click on the job, go to the setup tab, select here create box, select the corner, click on set origin. Let's go to the model, go to placement, go to position and see what I need to change here to enter formulas. The 500 millimeters is the table width, so I will click on the expression, spreadsheet table width, and the Z is the top thickness. Go to the stock and change all these values. 27 is the top thickness, length table length, width table width. So now let's go back to the operation, press the helix button, go to the base geometry. You can see I have two types of holes, the 12 millimeters and the 9 millimeters. Remove the 9.5, select them using shift or control key, click on remove. When clicking apply, you can see I have the path for all my 12 millimeter holes. I don't need to change anything in the settings. I will just click OK and then make another operation, another helix. Click on the helix. Now go to base geometry and remove the 12 millimeters holes. Click on apply. You can see it automatically changed the depth. I have the path for my model. Let's try to change some dimensions here. 600. It already takes longer than before. 700 for the length. So with all the jobs here, I will have to take the jobs one by one, click on the post process and so on until the last job. Batch selecting a lot of jobs and exporting the files would be much easier, but unfortunately for now it doesn't work. All the files that I need are here. I can just go to the workshop, connect the laptop to the CNC. Assuming that I already have the wood prepared, I will drill all the holes and in 10 minutes I can assemble the table. In the next episode about our coffee table, I will show you how to use the texture workbench to make printable plans. I will show you how to make them and how to make them auto adapt to whatever dimensions I enter for the table. Thank you for watching and see you next time.